What is up, everybody? We are back in the truck. It's a beautiful day outside. We're heading into Naples to do our Wednesday meetings. But today I want to talk about obsessive compulsive disorder, and I want to talk about a subset that's called magic thinking. This can go hand in hand with what people will call pure OCD or pure O, where a lot of the things that are going on are just in your head. But the thing about magic thinking is it can also have compulsions that we do outside in the regular world. So magic thinking it's kind of like that old stereotypical thing of like, hey, that's my OCD. I need to keep my desk really orderly. And for people with real OCD, it's not just because when their desk is a mess, it gives them anxiety. There's an additional step where an example of magic thinking that I dealt with a lot while I was a child. And I deal with it a little bit as an adult, but I'm better at handling it these days. A good example would be when I used to turn off the light switches. I would have to turn them on and off a certain amount of times until it felt right. Sometimes it was just a feeling like click, 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 and then it felt right. Or other times it was a certain amount of times. And the magic thinking part of that would be if I did not do that certain amount of times, I physiologically would feel as if there was some sort of danger. Maybe OCD would tell me if you don't do that. When I was a child, it would say something is wrong with your mom or your dad. These negative things are going to happen to them, or these bad things are going to happen to you. Another one that would happen, this is what would go on when I finally talked to my parents. I was about 6 or 7 years old, maybe 8 or 9, in that range. I would lay in bed at night and I would close my eyes and I'd have to open them and close them and open them a certain amount of times, or OCD would tell me that something bad is going to happen. Your parents are going to die. These bad things are going to happen. And one night I stayed up all night, blinking, until about midnight. I finally came out of my room. I was crying. I was upset. And I explained to my parents the best way that I could what was going on. And that was a great example of magic thinking, where our obsessions and our compulsions, they create this narrative that something bad is going to happen if you don't perform a certain ritual. Other examples of magic thinking could be that, another one that I would do as a child. I like to use myself as anecdotes because I can relate to them, is when I used to get out of my mom's car at school, I would have to step out in a way that made me do a complete circle. And that was the only way that I could get out of the car. And I would do it multiple times until it felt right. And it was exhausting. It was humiliating. It was really a tough thing at that age, especially going into middle school. My friends would have this saying where they would see me walking along and maybe I would take my steps in a particular way and I would go back and do it again and again. And they would have this saying where they would say, hey, OCD cannot control me. And that was kind of their way of saying, hey, Brian, we're acknowledging what you're doing. Stop doing that. And although that didn't help at the time, it was nice because my friends were real friends. So they didn't bully me about it. They just kind of were in it with me and they understood. I've always been blessed with wonderful relationships in my life. So I'm grateful for all of those people. And then it got to the point where my parents would try to turn the lights off for me in the house. They didn't know then that they were just enabling the behavior and making that fear of danger, that wrong signal that my brain was telling me that if I didn't do the light switches a certain amount of time, there was danger there. It was enforcing that, because now what my mind and my body is realizing is hey, Brian's going to stay away from that. His parents are going to do it for him because there's danger there. And I used to beg my parents, do it again, on, off. And, they would get really frustrated, and it's understandable. So it was a very difficult time in my life. growing up with OCD. And that's kind of like a real basics of what magic thinking is, but it can be a ton of things, you know, like step on a crack, break your mom's back. That's magic thinking. And the differentiator from like a superstition that you do, superstitions are very similar to magic thinking, but with people with OCD, we're going to say this a lot. It's the physiological response that your body gives you, that your amygdala sends, that fight or flight, where your heart's racing, you're starting to sweat, you're panicking about this. Let's just say you went up and down the stairs and you got to the top step and OCD was like, hey, you need to like finish with your left foot, not your right foot. So go back down and do it again. Or else XYZ would happen. The response that the body has is so strong that it almost forces you to continue down this ritualistic behavior to make your anxiety go down. And people with OCD, as you get older, you understand like there's no danger in these situations, and that's why it's so frustrating and dehumanizing for the person, because you know you're not acting logically, but it's the physical response that you're getting. And the only true way to deal and rewire that brain is to feel that feeling and then dive into it and tell yourself, hey, I don't believe that's going to happen. And one step further, if it does, I'm going to be okay with it. Let's see what happens. Let's go along with this game that you're playing. Let's say maybe if I step on that crack, I will break my mom's back. Okay, I accept that. Feel that feeling of panic, that scaredness. Your brain's telling you, hey, you need to do this so that you protect your loved ones. You tell them, hey, I'm even okay if my parents are in danger because of that. I'm not going to go back and do that. And what you're doing over time is you're training your brain that there's actually no danger in this situation. Hey, our host that we're sending these signals to is continuously stepping on cracks and not responding to the signal that we're sending him. So this must not be a good signal. We will stop sending that signal. Now, magic thinking is a difficult one to explain and to get people to really understand what that is and what it means. So I do encourage you to go back and look at my other videos on magic thinking, see if that explains it a little bit better. And I urge everybody who's dealing with this OCD to start to take the steps to show the brain that there's no danger, and just accept that when you do this and you start along this path, you're going to live with an extreme amount of anxiety in the beginning. But that's already what's going on as you're you're a slave to this OCD cycle. The obsession, the compulsions, anxiety's gone. The obsessions, you're already dealing with this vicious cycle that is not letting up. So you might as well deal with the anxiety in a different manner, a manner that's going to help you recover. So we'll talk about ERP therapy, exposure response prevention. I think it is the key to recovering from OCD. It is the best practice for starting to retrain the brain that there's no danger there. Again, I'm not a licensed therapist. I have a lifetime of dealing with OCD, a lifetime of being in these type of therapists' offices. I do have a bachelor's degree in psychology, but that does not qualify me to give you guys any type of therapeutic instruction. I'm just giving you my experiences and how I'm dealing with this stuff today. So like always, like this video so other people can find it. Leave me a comment of some of the magic thinking that you deal with and how you're starting to practice ERP therapy in your recovery. I wish you all the best. I love you guys. I'll talk to you soon.